I'm Tom. Throughout this week, I will do individual breakdowns of each of the fights on the last Crescendo, but I want to do a quick little rundown whilst I've got a few minutes before I check out this hotel to just basically do a rundown of the card. Was it the best card in history? Well, it was certainly the best card I've ever seen in my lifetime. It's certainly the best card I've ever known and witnessed. Even looking at those Don King cards that I've heard of, I've seen. But did it live up to the expectations? Did it live up to the hype? In my opinion, no. It was the best card I've ever seen, the best card of my lifetime, possibly the best card ever. That's true, but it still didn't quite live up to the hype, in my opinion. Now, there's a few reasons for that, right? The Floyd Schofield thing, him pulling out against Shakur Stevenson, you can't really help that, but to be he did a fantastic job, great showing of himself. Adequate replacement. Martin Bacoli stepping in on 2 days' notice. Now, the hype around that being a better fight, I didn't think it was. I said potentially it could be. But ultimately, it didn't go that way. But it was still a good fight. Still lived up to the, lived up to perhaps a bit of hype, a bit of expectation, but not quite the amount it got. Certainly not for a co-main. And we'll go through the rest of the card, right? But I think actually, best card ever, yeah. But did it live up to expectations? Perhaps not. Let's get the negative out of the way with first. First and foremost, commentary, diabolical. It always is. Commentary is always, because what they do is they get people that don't really, they get people with experience, like names rather than actual good commentators. So I didn't particularly enjoy the commentary. The scoring, the judging. I actually think the AI judge was a better judge than most of the judges that were there ringside, which is, I suppose it's AI, but a little bit crazy. There needs to be some sort of panel, a system where, look at the hate football referees get. But for some reason, boxing judges, diabolical scorecards, like potentially, Hamza Shearer's Virgil Ortiz, let's look at that one, for example, getting given a draw. Today, there'll be a few tweets about it. No one will even remember the person's name, and they'll be on to the next show. There needs to be something where these judges are held to account, and they need to explain why they scored these things. Because once they explain it, maybe it's not necessarily the judges. Maybe it is. As I said before, boxing's got a really awful scoring system. And once they tell us why they've scored it that way, we can update the scoring system. It needs to modernise. So the judging was pretty abysmal. That's done. The fighters, for the large part, put up a good showing of themselves. Let's start from the bottom of the bill. Callum Smith, Joshua Buatsi. This was, for me, second or third for fight of the night. I can't give it fight of the night, just that main that main event for the firstly. But look, Smith won that. There's no doubt about it. Smith won. He beat Buatsi. I knew Buatsi couldn't outbox Smith. I didn't think Buatsi could outbox Smith. I just thought there would be times where the going gets tough, and we've seen with Buatsi against Aziz, and now obviously Smith, that when the going gets tough, he'll stand there and trade, and he will slog it out. And I thought what he'd do is stop him. I thought eventually he'll hurt him, he'll come out on top, Smith's age will show. The wear and he'll be outboxing him, building up a lead, he'll slow down, wear and tear will show, Buatsi will stop him. But it just didn't happen, and credit to Smith for that. Buatsi perhaps, I think he'll learn a lot from that fight, but I think just perhaps he isn't where we thought he would be, which is a real shame, because I really like him. He's a fantastic guy, fantastic boxer. I'll still follow him, just because he's not going to be a world champion, doesn't really bother me. I think he's great. But yeah, and as a fight, that for me 100% massively lived up to expectation. That opened the card fantastically. I watched it on the move, like I was running a bit behind schedule, going back and forth, and I was watching it on my phone on the move, and that really, for me, massively lived up to expectations. Then we move into Zhang Kabayao, and this lived up to expectations, but then didn't. Right, so I said, I think Zhang's got the first 4 rounds, at most 5, to get the job done, and then everything points to a Kabayao stoppage from then out. And I thought it would be a bit later, but I said his body work, and I said, I can watch, I've got the video receipts, I can watch the video. I said his body work is just going to be simply too much, just too much. And Zhang will not be able to deal with it. Just, that is plain and simple. Zhang will not be able to deal with Caballero's bodywork, and eventually will stop him, or a points decision. It's kind of what happened. The first 4 rounds, Zhang looked really good. The 5th round, Caballero then looked better, and it was a Caballero round, but Zhang got the knockdown. So 4 rounds to get it done, 5 at most. That was it, got the knockdown. But then Zhang just swallowed it, and that's where it didn't. The first 5 rounds, lived up to the stations, you got a knockdown, got the bodywork back and forth, exciting, not sure, what's going to happen. But Caballero met fire, worked the body. Zhang just swallowed it, got smacked to the liver, which hurts, took a knee, gave up, quit, didn't want anything to do with it. And I think that might be it for Zhang. I think that might be it, because he's lost to Parker, he's lost to Caballero, but he's never going to be at the top table, clearly. I think that's him done. Age is showing, wear and tear is showing. And now most importantly, you've got the blueprint. Bodywork, bodywork, bodywork. Now you put him in there with a puncher like Dubois, or AJ, who hasn't got a chin, but AJ. Usyk, who loves the body. Bodywork, bodywork, bodywork. They're just going to just work the body. And it wasn't even like he got a terrible wallop to the head. It was 6th round, hit to the body, quit, swallowed it. That's where it didn't live up to expectations. But other than that moment, fantastic fight. Then we'll go to the Hamza Shiraz fight. Hamza Shiraz versus Carlos Adames. I don't even know really where to start with that. This one didn't live up to expectations. I expected so much more from Hamza Shiraz. Now, I said before the AJ fight, I don't think Hamza Shiraz is what everyone's billing him up to be. I don't think Hamza Shiraz is of the level that these pundits and this media will have you believe. He's not the next best thing. What he is a Riyadh season ambassador. And because of that, he's been touted up and built up to be the next best thing. He's just not that. And I said that before the AJ fight. I said, but he will win here. I said, he's not what he's meant to be, but he'll win this fight. He did. And I said, going into this fight, we've never seen him at this level. And I want to see what happens when he gets cracked. And we saw what happened. He stops throwing. For me, you're in a world title. Josh Padley is a perfect example of what you do when you're in a world title shot. You go for broke. There was no way Josh Padley was winning that fight by anything other than a knockout. So he went for it. And there was times where he got cracked, so went for it. Shiraz just didn't do it. And we saw how good Carlos Adames is, but Shiraz really let himself down there because he didn't win, but he also didn't show anything to make me think, yeah, I'd love to watch you again. Terms like weight bully and stuff are getting thrown around now. I don't know if it's that, but it wasn't a fantastic outing. That was a letdown. And then to top it off, and this is another reason why the card for me didn't hit the expectations, was things like the stupid judging. To top it off, you got awful judges giving it a draw. I was thinking to myself yesterday, if I'm Adames, I don't even give him the rematch. There's no way he lost that fight. No way he lost that fight. He won that fight 100%. So I wouldn't even bother with the rematch. Why? It wasn't like a relatively close fight. You're the champion. You won that fight. It was given a draw. Sack it off. They're clearly trying to rob you of your title. I'd leave it there. He won that fight. That fight was a bit of a letdown. And Shiraz, it was frustrating to watch because Shiraz just wouldn't let his hands go. And he'd land one or two punch combinations, and then that would be it. He wouldn't follow up on it. There we are. Madrimov versus Virgil Ortiz. This was a good fight. This, for me, did live up to expectations. I thought Madrimov would win. If I'm Virgil Ortiz, you've got to chase that Crawford fight now. Surely you go for the Crawford fight. Simply because you beat Madrimov. So did Crawford. But they both had great spells in that, but the right man won. Virgil Ortiz won. So you chase that. If I'm him, I'm chasing that Crawford fight now. Look, I beat the man I'm the guy in this division. Let's see who is the guy in the division, me or you. Even though I know Crawford's going to move up, but that's not the point. that was a good fight. It wasn't. I thought it'd be fight of the night. It wasn't that. It wasn't that. But it was a good fight. It was a very good fight with the right result. Moving up again, Shakur Stevenson, Josh Padley. I think perhaps getting overhated. Like, people are hating on Shakur. Shakur is a very defensive fighter. You go back and watch Floyd. Floyd, who's looked at as one of the best fighters in history. Watch his fights. Watch, especially towards the end of his career. They stank their gaff. They were horrible. They stank. He massive build-up, sellouts, you know, huge pay-per-view numbers. But the fights weren't that great. He was money Floyd, money Mayweather, Pretty Boy Floyd, different. Money Mayweather got on his bike, boxed on the back foot, defensive fighter, ran away. That's what he did. Pretty Boy Floyd, different story. Money Mayweather, build up the fight, get the bag, press conferences, all that. In the fight, just fucking run around for 12 rounds, get a points decision. That's what Floyd did. But for some reason, no one wants to talk about that. Shakur boxes very defensively, very similar, and he's awful, he's a boring watch, Tank destroys him. I think he beats Tank. He's a defensive boxer. He didn't get rid of Padley in 9 rounds. For the record, he absolutely should have got Padley out of there inside 3 or 4. Padley made a very good showing of himself there. Fantastic. And he's got a fan in me. I'm really impressed. Shakur should have done better. I'm not saying he shouldn't have. But did he put on a good performance? Yes. Did he get the stoppage? Yes. Does his style not really allow for him to... That's why I was looking forward to the Floyd matchup. And let's be fair, that's why I quite like the fight against Josh Padley. It was a good fight. Because of the come-forward style. When you've got 2 defensive boxers, that's then when it's boring. Because Shakur will just box around him for 12 rounds. He's defensive as well. Get the points victory. Tank will be a good fight. Because it's defensive versus offensive. It was Beterbiev versus Bivol. That sort of style, not the level, but that sort of style matchup. And that's what I think Shakur's being overhated because he did what he needed to do. Defensive, he won every round, defensive shutout, got the stoppage. Josh Padley just really made a great showing for himself. Moving up the card again, Bakole Parker. For me, and I said this going into it, I am not jumping on the Bakole hype train. I picked video receipts, I picked Bakole to go back to beat Anderson. I said the way that Carlos Takam amazed me. Anderson's nothing about him. It's just because he's the only American heavyweight that's decent, everyone jumps on him. But he's got nothing there. Bakole can wallop. He'll just absorb Anderson's pressure and beat him. The difference being, Parker is not an Anderson. Parker isn't even a Michael Hunter. Parker's a top 5, top 6 heavyweight. Parker's fantastic. Now he's got to be top 5. That's the difference here. And I'm not jumping on this Bakole hype train. I think he's overhyped because of sparring stories. People need to watch fights and actually look at the context of the fight. You know, how did Bakole look? When he was fighting Anderson, he stood there square on, taking hits and then landing his own. You can't stand square on in front of Joseph Parker at 267 pounds. And we saw why. Yeah, people would look at fights in context. And that fight for me, 2 days notice, arrived at 2 a.m, straight off the plane. I am not saying Bakole is suddenly awful and it would be the same with a full camp. But come on, with a full camp, Bakole still loses that fight. Come on. Let's not take away from Bakole and start saying how awful it is, but let's look at how good Parker is now. And let's say, okay, that's why Dubois pulled out. Yeah, that's why Dubois didn't want to fight him. And now Parker needs a title shot. That's where we're at with this. Fantastic. But, first 2 rounds were amazing. Bakole, the fight then got stopped when Bakole got up. I get why he got up, completely turned away from the ref, didn't even look at him, walked back to his corner. The coach jumped up, the coach wanted it stopped. He got him safety first, he got him pretty much not going to sleep. I probably hadn't eaten or drank much, no training camp. I get why it was stopped, but do you know what I mean? Did it live up to the hype? Yeah, probably not. I wanted a 6-7 round slugfest, it wasn't that. Then you get the main event. For me, one of the best light heavyweight fights I have ever seen. when you know boxing, that was fantastic. And for me, there were parts where Beterbiev was great, right? But the majority, and this is what's different from the first fight, Bivol was boxing on the back foot. It wasn't Beterbiev's effective aggression. The first fight, especially in the latter stages, we saw Beterbiev's effective aggression. I think this was more clear cut to Bivol, by the way. I had Bivol winning. I had Bivol winning both fights. I think this one was more clear cut to Bivol. Because Bivol was boxing on the back. If you watch it back, every time they move, Bivol steps round and Beterbiev follows. It's not Beterbiev going, I'm going to walk you down. So Bivol goes, okay, I'm going to walk backwards. It's Bivol going, I'm going this way. And Beterbiev's going, well, I'm not going to leave you alone. It's that. That's not effective aggression. Effective aggression is I'm going to walk you down and you're going to back up. This wasn't that. This was, I'm going to box on the ring and you're going to follow me around. You're going to follow me around the ring all day. And there were times, obviously, where Beterbiev did, I'm not saying it was one-sided, Beterbiev did absolutely pressure him. But for a large portion of the last fight, it really was Beterbiev effective aggression, pushing, Bivol going back, and then Bivol had to stand there and trade to stop him just walking him down. Whereas this one wasn't that. It was Bivol going round the ring, side to side, and then Beterbiev matches his steps, not leading the way. That is then boxing on the back foot, not effective aggression. That's important. All these people saying he ran around the ring for 12 rounds. No. Learn boxing. And the flurries. I was watching the Pain game and they were saying that every time Bivol throws, it's keep off me punches, whereas Beterbiev's throwing with intent. Bivol was throwing with intent. After the second round, Beterbiev had a little golf ball under his eye, red face, bust up. That was throwing with intent. That was throwing with intent. And he was throwing mean punches. Look at him. He looks better now after this fight than he does after the last fight. Beterbiev, vice versa. The right man won. And I think Bivol's game plan, because we all agree, Beterbiev won the last 3 rounds of the last fight. I don't think Bivol gassed out. I think Bivol was just too hurt. His hands were swollen and bruised. His face was swollen and bruised. I think he was scared to punch because a counter would hurt his swollen and bruised face. And he was scared to punch because it would hurt his swollen and bruised hands. I don't think it was that he was tired. So I think going into this one, it was I'm going to start really quick for the first 3 rounds so that when the last 3 come, you haven't done as much damage to me, which then means I don't have to stop fighting. My hands aren't bruised, my face isn't bust up, and I can keep fighting because my gas tank isn't the issue. It was the pain I was in. So therefore, he started really quick the first 3 rounds. Don't get me wrong, they were still closer, but those first 3 rounds, he really did start the work rate. Look at the punch stats, the work rate in those first 3 rounds. And it was because, I think, to really try and dent Beterbiev later. Later on, he can't then put on that relentless pressure. And it was, I think, just Bivol up to the work rate, punching more, punches in bunches. Every punch, in my opinion, had meaning to it. That is perhaps the best boxing display I think I might have ever seen. And that right there was pound for pound the best fight currently. Pound for pound, that's the best fight. Because every other division, I'm not saying they're the best pound for pound fighters, but every other division, when you go for pound, you have to start sacrificing weight. Yeah? You got Inoue, one of the best pound for pound guys. For him to get a good pound for pound fight, he's got to come up a weight class or 2, which means it's not really a pound for pound fight because you've got a really heavy guy against a lighter guy, a fantastic boxer. That's not pound for pound. Yeah, you've got Usyk against Fury. That's not a pound for pound fight. This is 2 guys who are levels above everyone else in their division and the division below. Yeah, and the division below. Look at like Canelo, look at Bivol to Canelo. So and the division below. And probably, if not definitely, the division above, bar Opetaya. But again, then you're looking at, well, then you give up the weight. Do you know what I mean? I think Opetaya would beat them, but only because the weight difference. So pound for pound in boxing, that is the best fight and there is to have. And that was a phenomenal fight. The right man won. I agree with the AI judge. The AI judge had it 116, 112. I had it 116, 112, 116, 113. 115, 113, 115, 112, around that. I had Beterbiev on 113, 112. I had Bivol on 115, 116. There or thereabouts, right? Fantastic fight, people. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you leave your thoughts in the comment section down below. What do you think about the whole fight, the whole event? Where do we go from here? A trilogy. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe on YouTube Works, people. Peace.